I'll do a quick intro and then you can introduce yourself. As mentioned, I'm Miles Rudder. I'm the director of client development here at Branded Entertainment Network, aka Ben. We are Bill Gates' own product placement company that helps brands find authentic ways to integrate into streaming, TV, film, and music video content. But enough about me. Let's pass the torch over to Ed. Ed, why don't you tell the folks at home a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Ed Borelli. I'm with Planet Fitness. I've been in marketing for quite some time, worked for some amazing brands, including Nike, Levi's, Home Depot, New Era. So I either can't keep a job or I've worked for amazing brands. So I like to say I've worked for amazing brands, but
That's all the good ones.
and now just enjoying my journey with Planet Fitness.
Great. Fantastic. Well, Planet Fitness, I mean, I think that's one of the more interesting brands in this modern era of, 2020 COVID-19. Obviously, as a national gym brand, how has COVID and quarantine and the different restrictions affected your business this year? I'm sure it's affected it obviously in a number of ways, but so many gyms have had to close or come or had to file for bankruptcy. How has it impacted Planet Fitness, and what have you guys been doing to sort of handle those challenges?
Well, that's a mouthful right there. Obviously, I mean, it really did bring things to a screeching halt, as it did for a lot of industries. Right, March 17th will always be etched in my brain. That's when we had to close all of our gyms, and on the one end, it's been very disruptive in a bad way for us because we've had to close gyms. We've had to work with local municipalities to make sure our gyms are safe to open. I mean, we've had to lobby locally. I mean, down to the local municipality to national efforts. I mean, it's been very disruptive on that sense. And then on the other end, it's been an accelerator for us. It's really given us the ability to accelerate our digital platforms. And now, our app had just relaunched last year. Now, our app and this has become the gateway, to fitness and to engaging with our brand in a whole different way. So, we have the potential to be the first omni-channel national fitness, in terms of our brick and mortar gyms and then our digital offerings. So, this is, I see this as being a positive for us. We had to deal with what everyone else had to deal with, but it's also made us extremely nimble, and innovation is really driving our business right now.
Great. Yeah. No, I mean that's I think a great answer and a great point of view on how to approach it. The theme of today's panel is consumer engagement, and you touched on it briefly, but I know you shared with me earlier some really interesting methods that how did you guys approach engaging consumers and staying relevant both during the lockdown when your gyms were all closed, and then again staying top of mind once the gyms were allowed to open and trying to encourage people to come back in?
Yeah, I mean, as you and I were talking about before, the thing that we were competing against more than anything was intimidation. 80% of Americans don't have a membership to a gym. Some have never even stepped foot in a gym before, and our brand was structured and created to really be a non-intimidating environment. And that's why we're called the judgment-free zone. And now we're competing against fear, right? I mean, people
From intimidation to fear, that's
exactly,
never easier.
exactly. I mean, for people actually coming in our doors and working out, when our gyms closed, our national partnerships team, just kudos to them. They immediately launched something which was a huge success for us called United We Move. And there were 20-minute workouts on Facebook Live. They're still doing them, and on YouTube. and really light workouts with celebrities, with athletes, with mascots, with our trainers. It was free for everyone. And because we knew everyone was sitting at home, but we knew people wanted to move, stay active, so it really went back to the purpose of our brand, and our values. It's really about people being their best selves and enabling people to be their best selves. So, we stuck true to what our true values and purpose really were around. And even though we weren't making direct revenue or making direct money off from the Facebook Live and the engagements we were doing, we still knew we were talking to people that want to work out, want to be active, etc. And then just our amazing network. I mean, we weren't spending the money we used to spend with marketing, etc. And we had all of our agency partners, media partners, our sponsorship partners really stepping up and promoting United We Move, and a lot of them for nothing, for free, because they knew how great of a partner we were. We were trying to do with getting people to move for the greater good. So that gave us the opportunity to keep engaging our consumers, our potential consumers, even when we know they couldn't be in our gyms. So when they were ready to make that move into our gyms, we were there. We were there for them. That transition was easy, and we're still doing that. Still doing that today.
You mentioned, what was it, Julian Edelman held a 80s themed virtual workout class. What your
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, that probably was one of the funniest workouts I've seen. And that was the thing about these 20-minute workouts. They were lighthearted. It gave the people leading them the ability to curate them in fun ways, unique ways that are authentic to them. So we had some really cool ones that you can view on our app and on our YouTube channel and Facebook, which are some of them are pretty hilarious. So
I'm definitely going to watch that one.
Yeah. You're a Patriots fan, so I'm assuming you are.
There are a lot of people watching this. Maybe don't tell them that. Not always the best received. But I mean, I can't think of anybody else who would get you more into like the attitude of working out than Jules. If only we can get him back on the field, maybe we can pick our season up this year. But I think we've all found, while ironically they were not deemed this, gyms are really essential services. I mean, for anybody who lives in a small apartment in the city, or has found themselves kind of just trying to stay healthy from COVID in general, it's really do it. So how are you helping to communicate that message moving forward when they're kind of thought of almost as the opposite right now?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it really is making sure we're communicating that we're doing everything possible to make sure our gyms are safe for people to come in and work out in. I mean, when we started reopening our gyms, I mean, we had like 100-page manual. I mean, it was literally that thick on everything that we needed to do to make sure we were ensuring a safe environment for consumers to come into our gyms. I mean, we were even giving free day passes for people so they can check it out themselves. I mean, we were doing a lot of things. I mean, for us, it did pivot our message. Our message was primarily centered around being not dating and coming in and working out, to now our cleanliness being a big part of that, and then working closely with our municipalities to make sure we were as aligned as possible to keep our gyms open and doing the things that they felt was safe.
So. Great. Well, New Year's Eve is rapidly approaching. I know that's a key time of year for you. This is a different New Year's Eve than ever before, but I imagine this is one year that New Year's resolutions will mean a lot more to people than they have ever meant before. Certainly on my end. How are you handling this time, given the uncertainty and the importance of it for your business? What's New Year's Eve look like for people who want to lose that COVID body and get back in shape?
Yeah, I mean, we're full steam ahead. I wish I had a crystal ball that would tell me exactly what's going to be going on. But, we historically, yes, January has been our peak month, right? In this industry, we always say, January makes your year, right? So we're still full steam ahead, but the difference is, and you'll see this with a lot of the brands out here and consumer brands in particular, is we have to be very nimble. We have to, leading up even to the day before New Year's Eve, make sure we're paying close attention to what's happening out there in our municipalities. If our gyms have to close, if the numbers are spiking, whatever it may be. And I think that's what's changed about our model. I mean, yes, you can plan for the year, but as Mike Tyson always said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. That's one of my favorite quotes. And we've all been punched in the face a number of times this year. So I hate to. No marketer wants to be reactive, right? We all want to be proactive, but this has really had us and forced us to balance between the two, right? We have to be proactive, plan, work with our partners, be ready, to keep pushing our business forward. But at the same time, we have to be ready for the reality that all of us are in, and make sure we're paying close attention to what's happening down in our marketplace.
Um, you know, at Ben, we really believe that brand integration and specifically focusing on the streaming platforms and the new ways of content, whether that be a Netflix or a YouTube, are one of the most important ways to reach audiences, modern audiences currently. What are the most important channels for you, do you think, that are in order to engage with your consumers? And what kinds of media and advertising do you think are the most important to utilize to continue to reach your KPIs, drive growth, and stay top of mind?
Yeah, yeah. One thing about Planet Fitness, I mean, we pretty much play in every channel. When you see our media plans down to the market level, we pretty much play in every channel. But for us, it's really balancing the channels as we move along. And this year, as I said before, it's really been an accelerator for streaming. I mean, TV is still king. Don't get me wrong, broadcast and cable, but we've seen that consumers are looking at a lot more content right now. But what they're doing is now they're mixing in where they're getting that content from, and streaming right now has really jumped up in terms of the hierarchy for us, and just period across the board. And also, the visuals on our messaging, what we're doing, what we're saying with our creative, really just comes across better with the visual. So digital, extremely important for us, because we're able to measure that down to the transaction and to the conversion rate. Streaming has now really stepped up for us. I mean, it's for us, it's almost second in the mix for us now.
Right.
And online video.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I think you guys, honestly, could be a really great example. So many different industries, whether it be fitness, hospitality, travel, they've all been hit really hard. What would be the most important message you have to brands who are watching or may see this later, whose businesses have been hit really hard by COVID? What would you recommend they do to help continue to engage their consumers moving forward?
Evolve. And evolve quickly. The one thing that brands you think about is like we did when we closed our gyms, go back to your values, go back to your purpose, and let that be what drives your decision, and then what's happening with your consumers out there. Consumers make the choice, right? No matter what you put in front of them, they decide at the end of the day. Obsess over your consumers, evolve to where they're moving, not to where they are right now, but to where you see they're moving. And right now, this marketplace is moving faster than I've ever seen before. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, for over 20 years. And I thought even before this pandemic that I've never seen the marketplace move this fast, from retailers closing to new ones opening to new brands popping up all over the place. What this pandemic has done is it's kind of mixed up the whole puzzle again, right? For us to put it back together. And, you know, this is an opportunity for you to think about engaging with your consumers in a whole different way. Technology is an enabler. Use that. Culture is an enabler. Use that. Think about that, and then just really obsess over your consumers to find out how you can reach them, how you can talk to them. And that's how I view engagement, is really a talking with your consumer. It's not just a linear, here's a message, come out and buy it. That's the old way of thinking. It's really creating a dynamic where you're talking with consumers.
I think that's great advice, and obviously you practice what you preach. So, for you guys at home, please write that down. On that note, we've got a little bit of time left. I'd love to turn it over for some Q&A from the audience. So if people want to submit questions, I'm happy to take them. Oh, good question. How much do data and analytics play into your marketing strategy, or do you more so look at qualitative trends?
It's both. I mean, you got to balance the two. I tell people all the time, marketing is science and art, right? The science comes in with the data, and we have tons of data on our members, on the marketplace, and we have tons of resources, right? The art of it comes in for what we're talking and listening to what our members are saying and what people are saying, and being in tune. I always tell people our biggest resource by far are people working in the gyms, that are working and with members every day, listening to them, having a way to talk to them, getting information from our ops team, and God bless our ops team, right? They're out there every day figuring out how to keep our gyms clean, dealing with people coming in and out of our gyms, helping them, working with them, so you have to balance the two between the analytics, the data, and then the art with really listening, understanding, being empathetic, always relying on that, when you make decisions.
Thanks. What are your predictions for the future of gyms and the fitness sort of vertical in 2021? Do you think that the pandemic has changed consumer behavior for the long term, or do you think that it'll come back?
I think it's changed consumer behavior for the long term. Some people have realized that they like working out at home, and that's fine. And they want to be able to work out wherever, whenever they want to. So gyms need to be more omni-channel. You usually see that with traditional retail, but to think about gyms as being an omni-channel retailer, that's the future right now. And of course, there are tons of brands. I mean, Apple just launched Apple Fitness Plus that are fully digital in terms of how they're interacting and engaging with consumers. Our advantage is that we do have the physical. And as we've learned with traditional retail, there's no substitute for the physical. You may have to evolve that as time moves along, and you should evolve that. But gyms now have to be omni-channel and be omnipresent.
Cool. During the pandemic, were there channels you leveraged more this year than previous years?
Yeah, I mean, like I was talking about streaming. I mean, streaming going into the year was less than 10% of our mix, and it's jumped up significantly. YouTube, for instance, I mean, our YouTube presence was very minimal, and now it is an integral part of getting our workouts out there. Engaging with consumers. I mean, so we are quickly shifting to really, digital and streaming as being more important in the overall mix for us.
Great. I know you work with some celebrity athletes, but do you work with influencers? Overall, is that a strategy you plan to do more of in 2021?
I think there is, huge potential with influencers. I started an influencer network at Nike, here in Chicago, and influencers could be very powerful in terms of interacting and engaging in their communities. So, we've talked to a lot of great influencer companies out there, it is something that I think has a great potential in our space. Our biggest influencers, though, are our members. We have a network called Planet of Triumphs where people are sharing their stories, how they work out, how they were helped, their progress, So we do have that in terms of our membership, but I do think there is a big space for influencers in Planet Fitness. But the biggest thing for me is in terms of influencers, making sure they love the brand. I mean, I think a lot of brands make the huge mistake on engaging influencers that really don't know anything about the brand and aren't excited about the brand. So finding those right people is always going to be the challenge for us. Is going to be the challenge for us. But yeah, absolutely, influencers could be amazing.
I think you make a really good point because it's all about authenticity, right? And if you're doing an integration, whether that's on a streaming show or with an influencer, it's got to be authentic. It's got to fit, and you want to work with the people who truly enjoy your brand because audiences can sense that and they respond to it.
A 3-year-old can sense that. A friend of mine, Scoop Jackson, he's a great writer, great commentator in sports. He said this once to me. He said, "Eddie, kindergartners can smell bullshit from a mile away." I know I'm cursing on here, but it's so true. I mean, it's finding those right people. It's making sure they love the brand. People can tell. People can tell. So authenticity is extremely important.
Absolutely. All right, I think we have time for one last question here. How does your company leverage loyalty data and insight to better meet customer expectations around experience and personalization?
There are a lot of ways that we look at loyalty data. I mean, our business is built on churn, right? And we just had a whole group of Northwestern MBAs working with us, doing a project around churn. So I do think there is a tremendous opportunity for us to have better loyalty programming and to track that. But we look at NPS scores, down to the club level, to see what people are saying about our key indicators for our clubs. We track a number of things to make sure that we're meeting the expectations of our current membership, but we have tremendous opportunity in front of us to really drive loyalty in a whole different way.
Great, fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I think we wrapped that up right on time.
Good. Hey, that's what it's about. So. Well, thank you for the opportunity. I do want to say, I feel really blessed and thankful to be here considering this pandemic, and what an opportunity to talk to some brand marketers out there. And thanks, Matt. Miles, it's been great chatting with you as always. Our second time.
Yeah, no, this great guy to pick your brain with,
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You so much for joining.
Thanks, guys.
Pleasure.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Have a great rest of the day, guys.
You too. Thank you.
All right. We're going to actually start the next session just a few minutes early. So first, thanks to Ed and Miles. They had a great combo. They had really nice chemistry too. You can tell that they've chatted once or twice before. So for our next session, we're bringing a regular stage. We have Brad Haley, the CMO of IHOP, and as moderator, another awesome regular with us, Matt Russo, the CMO of Gimbal. Welcome, gentlemen.
There, Lauren. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, good to see you. Hello, Brad. How are you?
Good. Thanks. Hi, Matt.
Hey, good to see you again.
See you.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you guys chat. I'm going to go off to the side and I'll come back in a little bit.
Awesome.
Right. Thanks, Lauren.
Great. Good to catch up, Brad. For those who don't know me or Gimbal, I'll do a really quick intro and then likely pass most of the mic over to Brad today. My name is Matt Russo. I'm the CMO and COO at Gimbal. We're mostly a location technology company that helps brands and retailers and grocers and QSRs enable really cool location-based functionality within their app. And specifically, we're focused a lot on QSR and curbside pickup and a lot of the functionality that makes this new world that we're living in possible. And so that's why I'm very excited today to speak with Brad Haley. I thought, Brad, a fun place to start would be a little bit about your background and maybe why, when I search for Brad Haley on the internet, you're not the only Brad Haley at Jack in the Box that comes up. Can you give us a little bit of that backstory?
Sure, Matt. Yeah, I was. I actually was at Jack in the Box and led the search that brought in TBWA to do the Jack's Back campaign, and it was created by Rick Sittig, the chief, the creative director at the agency. And eventually, they made an ad starring a character named Brad Haley, which I was paid $1 for, so they could use my name for it. But they enjoyed the fact that the character was beaten up in the commercial, so that usually pops up ahead of me when you do a search.
Yeah, it was great. And I had not, I don't know if I've seen it or it's just been a while, but after researching it, it was certainly one of the original commercials that kind of went viral online back in the day, and it was cool to see that come up. And also, it kind of drew a thread to what we'll be talking a bit about today, which is a lot of kind of how you view the marketing world, specific to QSR and some of the brands that you've represented. So maybe we'll jump right in there. A lot of your past successes have hinged on, kind of what I'll call stunt-based marketing and garnering a lot of awareness for the brand. But ultimately, those are, while that's awesome and, everybody wants their name and their brand in the spotlight, it has to come down to business results. So I would wonder how do you kind of keep that in your mind when you're planning these types of things, and especially at IHOP, how you think about keeping that momentum moving forward.
Sure, a couple things there. Well, I guess throughout my career, I've always found that the best way to be successful as a CMO is to obviously partner the most creative agency partners that you can find. And currently, we're working with Droga5, who was this year named Agency of the Decade by both Adweek and Ad Age. So obviously, they're one of the top agencies in the business today, and they've helped us do a lot of the heavy lifting at IHOP. When I first started a little over 3.5 years ago, the brand elicited fond memories, certainly, but had, I guess I'd say, more latent love and didn't hold its place in popular culture. So in addition to the kind of the standard arsenal of paid, owned, and earned media, we've relied a lot on activations to kind of increase the brand's relevance. So a lot of examples of that. Probably the most famous was the IHOB burger campaign a couple of years ago, but there's been numerous ones since, and they've definitely increased the brand's relevance among our guests and current and potential guests, as well as brand love, which we track pretty closely.
Awesome. And yeah, as we chatted yesterday and some of the research that I was doing, again, the IHOB campaign was certainly impactful in all of the earned media impressions that were garnered from it. But talk a little bit about the business results. I know there was a significant uptick on the burger side. And as a marketer and also a business operator, I'd be curious to hear, what would a stunt like that mean for the pancake side of the business, which is, where the name lies mostly?
Yeah, well, it was obviously a big phenomenon. One kind of once a decade things that comes along and generated 46 billion earned media impressions, which is obviously we'd love to replicate every year, but it's not one of those things that will happen. But the important thing was it increased our burger sales by 4x, and today pretty much everyone knows that IHOP sells burgers. So that's the important thing. The good news was we actually drove, even though pancakes and breakfast is still the core of our business, the burgers did so well when we were promoting them that they actually drove total day sales for the quarter. So that was quite the accomplishment. And our burgers are still some of our best-selling items sold kind of after breakfast.
Right on. How about your beer sales, or maybe beer-related activities from a marketing standpoint?
Okay. Well, as I said, we've done lots of activations beyond IHOB, and I think the first one we did after that actually was creating the world's first pumpkin pancake flavored beer. Obviously, there's a lot of pumpkin beers in the world, but we reintroduced our pumpkin spice pancakes, which we do every fall season, and one of the first to kind of dabble pumpkin flavors. Now they're ubiquitous, as everyone knows. So literally kind of a punchline these days. So we want to do something through the clutter. So we worked with a brewer craft brewer in the Northeast to create pumpkin pancake flavored beer. They actually used our pancake batter and our old fashioned syrup to flavor the beer, which is actually a stout. And a lot of earned media. We actually sold it in the Northeast in a lot of pubs, and there's the time. It succeeded. And it was also, by the way, in a couple of beer festivals. So generate a lot of earned media to kind of help us make that brand or make that return for us work even better. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you've done other ones as well since then, the Panzizza, if I'm saying that right, as well as Panflakes, which as a dad of 2 young daughters, certainly are top of mind for us. Talk about how these partnerships are where they come from, maybe the ideation, and how you choose to select, which ideas float to the top.
Sure. Well, they're designed to, in every case, they have a solid strategic foundation. In fact, I guess I'll go back to IHOB. IHOB, a lot of people saw that as a big risk, but for us, as long as these activations that have the potential to be highly visible, as long as they have a solid strategic foundation, then from our standpoint, the risk is it's willing to assume that risk, I guess. And the creative strategy for IHOB was that we take our burgers as seriously as we take our pancakes. So if you think about it, what better way to kind of pay off that creative strategy than to announce that we're changing our name from IHOP to IHOB with a B for burgers. And the other thing is we always like to do everything with kind of a wink and a tongue-in-cheek way, so that at the end of the day, everyone feels like they had a fun ride in the process. So all of those things kind of reduce our risk, but all of these activations do have a strategic intent behind them. Otherwise, we don't just do them just for sake. In the case of Pankizza, which is how you pronounce it, there you go. It's not a very common word. No, we hijacked National Pizza Day because we were rolling out announcing partnerships with some of our delivery service provider partners, and pizza is still one of the obviously most popular delivered food items in the world. So we made pizza-sized pancakes that we sold in pizza boxes for takeout and delivery. for national for the weekend actually of kind of National Pizza Day. So that was designed specifically to drive our awareness of our delivery program. The other one you mentioned. Panflakes. We actually introduced. Sadly, they were interrupted by COVID, but we introduced cereal pancakes earlier this year, and they were kind of like they sound. They were pancakes topped with various breakfast cereals and cereal milk mousse in between the pancakes. So they were great, but again, sadly, the event was sort of truncated by COVID. But we'd planned to introduce to our cereal pancakes, a pancake cereal called Panflakes. So that's kind of like it sounds. They were small pancake-shaped flakes in cereal, but we paused that because of COVID as well. But a few years later, during the pandemic, there was a phenomenon that surfaced on TikToks where TikTok people made a lot of small pancakes, and kind of ate them out of a bowl. So we introduced the packaging in social media and responded to the kind of the TikTok viral nature of that phenomenon, and we got some life out of Panflakes, and we still hope to bring them to the world in retail grocery stores at some point in the future.
That's great. Yeah, based on some of the Twitter searches that I did yesterday around Panflakes, there were literally people that were saying, "Don't mess with me, IHOP. If you better be serious if you're doing this, this better not be another one of your stunts." So there's certainly some demand and appetite, no pun intended, for that product when it makes sense.
Yeah, so well, we continue to have conversations with cereal manufacturers to bring that one to the world at some point.
That's awesome. I mean, it reminds me a lot of, we talked about yesterday, some of the other kind of CPG related partnerships. And the one that I saw recently, I forget which brand it was, but the coffee flavored coffee creamers. And again, I think in a similar way, there's a lot of tongue in cheek there. But certainly, Cinnabon comes to mind of injecting their flavors and that branding in places where there's already a brand affinity, and you can kind of extend that flavor profile to other products so that both brands get the benefit of that, which is awesome.
Yep,
we talked a little bit about how that kind of got sidetracked because of COVID. Where do big kind of more fun activations like this, where do those have a place in today's environment without running the risk of kind of being tone deaf to where we are in the world and a lot that's going on?
Yeah, obviously it's a challenge to do kind of these big visible activations in the world we're in today. So we have put a pause on activations for the bulk of this year, and also some of our other plans as well. But the way we describe our brand tone is it's light and fluffy, like our pancakes. So ultimately, our goal is to put a smile on people's faces, and arguably that's a more precious commodity today than it ever has been. So you'll see us get back in the activation game next year.
Definitely. And I would imagine some of the programs that you've rolled out since COVID have been around some of the changes and probably some of the perceptions or maybe fears even that some households have. So instead of maybe promoting more premium products, maybe talk a bit about one of the more recent IHOPPY programs that you've rolled out since March.
Sure. Yeah, I guess I'll go back to the beginning. There's probably been 3 phases of kind of what we've messaged this year since COVID started. Initially, all the insights work that we did indicated that people wanted comfort, they wanted familiarity as sort of one way to deal with the stresses that they faced in the world. So initially, we promoted some of our old iconic, classic, familiar favorites for our guests at that point. And then obviously as the pandemic sort of wore on, then guests became more concerned about the state of the economy and then of course the state of their own personal incomes. So value became a more important consideration. Fortunately, we had tested a value platform prior to COVID, so we're in a position to react fairly quickly by rolling out IHOPPY Hour, which is a PM 2 to 10 p.m. offer. A lot of top favorites are available for $5 or $6. They include our world famous buttermilk pancakes, but also our burgers that I spoke about earlier. And that's been that was designed again directly to address the guests' need for value in during these kind of uncertain times. Moving into 2021, we believe our guests will be interested in going back or rediscovering and enjoying menu innovation again. It's something IHOP's been famous for a long time. Again, we sort of responded to what guests were ready for during 2020, but we think they'll be ready for innovation in 2021. And we like to say we flip expectations when it comes to menu innovations, like we flip our pancakes. So I think no surprise, you'll see new flavors of pancakes, new pancake creations in 2021, but you'll also see some things from IHOP that you might not expect.
Fantastic. I got to ask, because you've thrown in a couple of those, what seem like company values into some of your statements. How much do you guys focus on those? And I can tell they're supposed to be fun and, a little bit tongue in cheek as the branding goes as well. But how much of that, how do you, I guess, roll through either the marketing department or through operations, and maybe talk a bit about core values and company culture?
Sure. Well, our brand purpose is to welcome all folks to pancake together under our blue roof. Obviously, that's now physical and digital in today's world. But we use pancake as a verb specifically because it represents a lot of things. It's the physical enjoyment of pancakes, but it's also kind of a state of mind when people come to our restaurants. They usually typically come with families and friends, and pancakes are kind of a fun indulgence. So it's kind of that emotional connection to the brand that we meant to capture by using pancakes in that way. But the terms I mentioned are things that we speak of all the time. So we talk about our tone needs to be light and fluffy. We talk about the fact that we need to flip expectations, not only in our menu, but really in everything we do. So we don't want to just do something that's been done before by someone else. If we do something we need to find a way to make it IHOP-y in some fashion. So we flip it.
There you go. Cool. In terms of messaging, we talked a bit about yesterday. Previously, pre-pandemic, you were doing a lot of national rollouts and national messaging. Maybe talk first about how the company is set up. I know it's 100% franchised, and maybe speak a little bit briefly about the role of corporate marketing and what you oversee there, and then we'll kind of cascade that into how that may have changed since COVID hit.
Sure. Well, we are a 100% franchised company, and I think one of the reasons that one of the benefits of associated with IHOP from a franchise perspective is we've got scale. It's a large chain, almost 1,700 restaurants. So we have the budgets to promote to run national television media, which is more efficient than running local media. In addition to all the other digital and social and streaming and addressable media as well. So that's been a benefit to us, and linear television's been part of our national linear television's been part of our marketing media plans for a number of years. But when the pandemic hit, then obviously we couldn't rely on a one-size-fits-all message, because there were various restaurant restrictions that varied by city, by county, and were rapidly changing. So we needed to localize the message. So we actually shifted some of our weight from national to local media, so that we could run messages that were appropriate for whatever dining room closures were in place and given DMAs at the time. And then we've obviously been shifting over time. We've been following viewers over time from linear television to addressable streaming, digital, both paid social and owned channels, including CRM. So that's been a multi-year process, but we shifted even further in that direction because it did give us the chance to localize messages, not only geographically, but also to target specific audiences, if not specific individuals.
Right on. And how are you guys thinking about attribution these days, especially given that you do have a curbside pickup solution? Some states or areas are going to be open right now. Others are completely closed, and pickup or delivery is the only option. How do you think about attribution there?
Yeah, well, obviously it's been a challenge to kind of keep up with everything, and sadly for a lot of industries, not just the restaurant industry, we've taken a step backwards recently. But that's just the nature of the world. So we need to react to it. So what we've done is, as for example, in a market where dining rooms are completely closed and they're reliant only on delivery and takeout, then we'll promote those options in those specific areas. We may promote takeout options with including, we have curbside pickup in the vast majority of our restaurants. So takeout is obviously an important lifeline for restaurants that have no dining room business. We'll promote delivery, including free delivery offers, which we have a free delivery offer available right now through Uber Eats. So we promote free delivery, and then we'll also promote these kind of larger group meals for takeout for off-premise consumption that are designed to feed a family of 4 or more. So that's kind of the message we'll do for restaurants that are completely that have no dining room options whatsoever. And then we'll obviously scale up to promote more in restaurant dining, depending upon what the dining room restrictions are in a specific DMA.
Got it. And currently, I'm always fascinated with larger brands who have the reach that you guys do. How much you're, specializing or tailoring each type of messaging, not just geographically, but based on the options that you might have available. So is it being split out by this messaging goes to digital, this one goes to either linear or connected TV, or is it pretty consistent overall? Like what's the cadence, and maybe how do you map all that out? Because it seems like a logistical nightmare.
Yeah, well, no, it is, and the comms plan is pretty extensive when you see it all kind of laid out on a spreadsheet. But we typically, our calendar is driven sort of by windows that are focused around some typically new menu news, whether it be innovation or value or something else. So the vast majority of our marketing, our guest touch points will support that, but depending upon the guest and the audience and in some cases the demographic, the message will be altered, or in some cases it may be completely different. So speaking to Gen Z on TikTok's obviously different than talking to a millennial family through linear television.
Definitely. Cool. How are you guys thinking about loyalty in this type of environment? Yesterday, we talked a little bit about other groups like Panera that are doing some interesting things in their business model. And certainly, food is always fascinating to me because I'm stating the very obvious here. Everybody needs to eat, typically multiple times a day. So there's always that demand or need. But is there any kind of business model innovation or other ways that you're thinking about it from a marketing standpoint that could be interesting outside of here's what we serve, here are new product innovations that we might be serving up in the future?
Yeah, well, I guess I'd say that in today's world, consumers are interested in feeling as much as they are in consuming. And so we take sort of our guest relationships, nurturing and building those very seriously. We also, again, we follow closely brand love ratings as we track sentiment from guests all over the country. So we follow those things very closely, and I guess I'll say that one way to maintain those relationships is through CRM programs, because then obviously you have the ability to speak directly on a one-on-one basis to guests and give them messages that are more relevant and kind of customized just for them. But that's obviously just part of the lift. I'd say that building brand love is just a lot of work. It's everything. It's how interesting your menu items sound. It's how engaging your marketing communications are. It's offering a good deal for a good meal. It's kind of a fun activation, as we talked earlier, that may lead people about IHOP in a different way. And the in-restaurant experience is just as important. It's your server remembering your name or remembering your order. It's a smile on your kids' faces when they're enjoying a pancake breakfast with you. So So all those things roll up to kind of the ultimate kind of engagement puzzle, and driving that relationship and brand love. So again, I guess in a nutshell, we just like to keep it light and fluffy.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, it's everything. Danny Meyer of Shake Shack, but previously Union Square Cafe rather, and a couple of those other ones. He talks often about that relationship and feeling of belonging. It's not just a place where you can come and eat. It's literally training every employee to greet people with eye contact, and then over time get to know what their orders are and their favorites are, so that every time they come in, they feel welcome and a part of the community. And certainly that's, I think something that's missing today is, we meet virtually and we can't sit up on a stage or shake hands. And I actually heard a terrible term recently that we're kind of starting into this like isolation environment, or isolation economy, if you will, where everybody's kind of in their own bubbles, and obviously everybody wants to be out of them and hopes that we will be soon. But certainly I think there will be themes that carry forward as we, get more comfortable with the digital means and kind of connecting those digital offerings with the physical ones. And food is one of those things that you can't just get through a computer or out of a printer yet, at least. So maybe that should be the next innovation, 3D print IHOP. Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Fantastic. I think that's a lot of what we covered. What haven't we talked about that gets you excited about what you guys are working on at IHOP right now?
Well, again, for us going forward, I think you'll see and this is true for the entire industry going into off premises, even as vaccines become more readily available. And hopefully we kind of find our way moving out of this from a public health standpoint. There'll still be reluctance for people to I think go out in the world to the degree they used to, as you were alluding to, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
But so I think consequently off premise is going to continue to be a significant part of what we focus on, as in addition to our kind of our on premise or dine-in sales. So you'll see kind of a little bit more balanced focus on those two, as opposed to historically the bulk of our attention went towards dine-in guests, because that's what the bulk of our sales were. So you'll see that continue to be a bigger focus for us. And again, I think everyone in the industry, you'll see. I think guests will continue to be concerned about safety. So promoting the programs that we have in restaurants, whether it be social distancing or additional hygiene practices, curbside pickup, all that stuff. I think guests will continue to see that being something that they want to continue to hear about. So you'll hear a lot more from us. And I think you'll hear a lot more from everybody else about that, because it could be quite a while before dine-in business gets to be what it was really pre-pandemic levels. I will say that I think, and you alluded to this, eating is an inherently social enterprise for a lot of people, or social experience for a lot of people. Maybe not every meal, it can't be, but there's something I think innate in human beings, that there's that innate need to want to break bread together in some fashion. So I think there'll always be that pull. And restaurants will, when we're out of this mess, I think restaurants will be there to satisfy that need.
I agree. I mean, as somebody who comes from an Italian family and like to get together in big groups, and especially around Christmas time, it's going to be a little different this year. I have fond memories of getting together with lots and lots of aunts and uncles and cousins, and all the seafood that we eat. And it's unfortunate, but you kind of make do. And I think it's like the saying, distance makes the heart grow fonder. When you can't have these things, when we will be able to get back together, it's just going to make it that much sweeter, I think, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've got a couple of questions that have come in through chat, and I would recommend anybody who's still listening who has some questions, feel free to enter them in the chat box or the FAQ. So one of the questions that came through is, as a franchise organization, what's the timeline for menu innovation and when it's being served in the restaurants? So maybe I think the question is like from ideation all the way through execution onto the table. What does that typically look like?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I guess I'll say it varies depending upon what the menu innovation is. If it's something that if it's something that we can kind of make by combining other ingredients in our restaurant, obviously, if you recombine, for example, if we can make a lot of omelets, we have our omelets are very popular. They're very big omelets, and so there's various ways to combine cheeses and meats and veggies to make kind of different omelet creations. So if those can be made all from kind of recombining existing ingredients that are in the restaurant, that can be done very quickly. Probably within, I'd say within within 6 months, and that it may sound like a long time from a kind of a guest or a public perspective, but as a big chain, we have to create advertising, we have to create media, we have to create menu to order ingredients. So there's long lead time, but I'd say 6 months is probably the low end. If it's something that the world has never seen before, and something that we'll need to work with our supplier partners to perhaps come up with something that hasn't been done before. That can take a while, and building up. They have to build up kind of their muscle to be able to make some things. So that could take 12 months or longer. So I'd say 6 on the low end, probably 12, and if not 18 in some cases on the high end.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense. Lots of chains and different pieces to that link. Same person asked a kind of a related question, but a little bit different. How do you get your franchisees on the boat, if you will, with some of the stunt-related programs that you guys launch from a corporate level, or do they have buy-in?
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, they do. We have we work with our franchise. There's a variety of franchise committees. There's some for marketing. There's some for operations, as you would expect. Some for technology. You name it. So we work with a marketing committee as well. And our franchisees, I think learned the power of activations with IHOB, and saw that for a obviously it was a good investment on our part, but the value and the impact on the brand far exceeded what we invested to bring that to life. But I will say that even at the time, our franchisees were very open to the idea. I think they saw that it was fun, they thought it was creative, and I think they saw the potential in it really from the beginning. So that's probably the most common question I ask is how the heck did you get your franchisees on board with doing IHOB? And the answer is that I think they saw the potential of it, and they saw the fun of it, and they were on board. So, but that's really the process, though. We share ideas and solicit kind of feedback from the marketing committee, but I'd say they're fans of activation because we've had a pretty good track record over the last couple of years.
That's great. We just had a question related to that come in, which I'll actually answer. It says, what's the count between company-owned and franchisee-owned? They are 100% franchise-owned, correct? And
yep.
Around 1,700 individual locations?
Yep. Yes.
Yep. Awesome. Fun one here. Have you considered selling your beer as a wholesale product and distribute through grocers or others?
Yeah, actually, we have talked about that. We'd far outpace the capacity of the craft brewer we worked with in the Northeast. But we have talked about that, and actually, a lot of restaurants. A lot of family dining restaurants offer beer and wine, so we've talked about if we get to that point, then by gosh, we'll want to have IHOP's beer in the restaurants.
That'd be awesome. Cool. A little bit more tactical one, maybe to wrap up. How much does data and analytics play into your marketing strategy, or do you look more so at a qualitative or maybe a high level here?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a big one too. And I guess the short answer is analytics play a big part of it. We've got a great business analytics and strategy team with some very talented people, and they can analyze things that I would not thought possible. But they're very good. So they guide I'd say everything that we do. But I think everyone also understands that there's when it comes to creative product and there's often a leap of faith that has to happen. We couldn't test IHOB, for example, because then the cat would be out of the bag. So we tested the burgers, but we tested them kind of with a generic marketing campaign and saved IHOP for the rollout. So I think everyone here has a healthy appreciation for creativity and the need to take intelligent risks if the idea again has a solid strategic foundation and fun to it, so that again everyone has a good time throughout the ride.
Definitely. And all this isn't a question from the group, but more something that I'm interested in. Obviously, you partner with Droga 5 on the creative side and some of the implementation and brainstorming. How much are you, I guess the broader question is, how much of the ideas and even execution happen internally at IHOP, and how much are you relying on partners, either creative or media buying or others, and where does that synergy live?
I guess it can go both ways. I think that when it comes to sort of the menu innovation that comes from internally, or either from our brand team or the culinary team, so the ideas for the actual menu innovations come from internal, and then they're circulated through our interagency team. So we've got Droga 5 on the creative and lead agency side. We've got Initiative as our media buying agency. We've got DeVries as our public relations agency. Barkley as our kind of sort of graphic design agency. I don't think I'm leaving anybody out, but they all get together and they all ideate around what they can do to bring those ideas to life. So it's kind of it can go back and forth, but typically that's how it works. So we develop the products and the agency partners come up with the best way to talk about them. Got
it. Awesome. Well, I appreciate the time so much. This has been super educational for me as a marketer. I always try to go into all conversations and try and take away at least one thing, but I feel like this is a masterclass in a lot of different topics. So I appreciate the time. Hopefully everybody else on the line is enjoyed it as well.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Matt. And as we like to say, hope everyone has happy holidays this year.
Oh, I like that. You too, Brad. I wanted to say, Brad, really quickly, I wanted to thank you because my grandfather, he's 96. He's a World War II vet, and coming to IHOP for Veterans Day is part of his plan every year. And it's just, thank you for doing that, because it's really special to our family.
Oh, it's our pleasure, and please thank him for his service. That's great.
I will. He'll just be besides himself by telling the CMO of IHOP says hello.
Send me his address, and I think we can take care of him with a few things.
Oh my goodness, that's so kind. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Matt. I love having you guys here. I hope you'll come back again soon.
Definitely. Thanks, Lauren.
We will. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Lauren.
Have a great evening. Talk soon, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Fantastic. Yes. And thank you to all of you for tuning in today. We had a great program, and it was a long afternoon with multiple sessions, but we just couldn't help ourselves. We just had such great marketers, and just excited to bring this to you guys, to your homes. Looking forward to one more day of programming this week. Tomorrow, we'll be joined by our friends at Media Monks for a takeover. They're going to take over the afternoon, bringing us all sorts of great conversations from brands like Google and Kimberly Clark, Giorgio Armani, Billabong. It's going to be a really great day. We're talking all things commerce, so please do tune in. You can register on the Brand Innovators site, or you can watch on YouTube. And last but not least, I have to just mention that we have our last week of programming next week before the holidays. So we've got programming on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So do check that out on our site, and we'll hope to see you then. Have a great night.